Welcome back to this week's Food Sports Central, the podcast of the World Food Championships. I am your host, Mark Conway, and Mike McLeod is still traveling in rabid preparation mode for the final table. So I am joined with our champions from this past World Food Championships. We're going to talk to the 10 category champions, see how they're doing since World Foods, and how they're preparing for the unknowns of final table. This week, I am joined by someone who has been there before, someone who actually won their category before, went to final table, and has done it again, which is probably one of the most difficult things to do in food sport is repeat. So today we are joined by Mr. Acie Vincent. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So you have had quite the run at World Foods. How many World Food Championships have you been to in total?
8.
So you've been to 8 out of the 9.
7 out of the 9.
7 out of the 9.
We missed the year 2020, so
Right. So
yeah.
2020 was a wash for everybody.
Right.
But you were able to win the sandwich category again. I mean, that alone, is unheard of. One, to win the category, because sandwich every year is getting more and more hotly contested. You won it once, and now you've come back and won it again. What was it like the second time versus the first time?
Oh, wow. So many heavy hitters in the sandwich category this year. I mean, just the competition alone was stacked. I still pinch myself thinking, how did I manage to do that? I mean, I prepare every year as best I can, to win. I mean, that's the goal. Why go there if you're not planning to win? But I still wonder how I beat, some of these guys. These guys were awesome.
They did. It was a stack category. You can see up above, behind you there, that red gold trophy. And I mean, I got to tell you, you're right. When I looked at the field as it was set for the sandwich category, it was stacked top to bottom. And just like with all the other categories, you have 2 cooks in the first round. So you have structured and signature. And then if you make it through that to the top 10, you're going to cook an entirely new sandwich for the top 10 round. So
yeah,
you having done this more than once now, and now you've cooked in the top 10 round a couple of times, did it benefit you? Like, did you notice a benefit to having cooked in the top 10 round before this past year?
That's really hard, Mark. This year I was out without my sous chef, which is my wife, Rochelle. I mean, she was unable to compete with me this year. I had to quickly amass, another sous chef just to get through it, or cook by myself. So, yeah, you learn stuff every year, new stuff every year, but it changes every year as well. I mean, so that's hard to answer that question.
It does. I mean, with the way the categories changed, and World Foods was really evolved. And you've been able to see that because you've been to so many World Food Championships at this point. But there has definitely been an evolution to the competition, whether it's the category, the rules, infusions, X factors, all of these new additions to up the game from one year to the next for you to come back. And that's one of the reasons it's so difficult for you to come back and repeat, because just because you won a category one year, the next year that you come and compete again, there's so many new additions and so many new wrinkles and new competitors. I mean, it is just as hard, if not harder, I think, to repeat.
Oh yeah, I agree. The X factor, huge. The X factor was a huge new new thing that we had to look at. It made it a lot more fun, in my opinion. I enjoyed it because I used the X factor heavily as I could. Because I had a feeling it was going to be a big deal.
So what was your X factor that you had to use?
Uh, I used, everything was an X factor for me. I made English muffins from scratch in that time limit. I actually made everything from scratch. Nothing was out of a container that wasn't something else done to it, to make it uh, different. Um, so
I mean,
yeah,
I can tell you from where I stood on the main stage and talking to all the different people that were there, there was almost nothing talked about as much or with as much excitement or trepidation or, oh my God, what is he doing, than making English muffins from scratch. Like that
yeah,
was the thing that had everybody's attention was there is a competitor at World Foods making English muffins from scratch during the cook.
yeah. It was fun. I mean, I admit I had a great time this past year. I liked it being inside. That was a total different.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to deal with the elements as much this past year. There were a lot of pluses to this year. It was a lot of fun.
There really was. So when you hit the ground in Dallas this year, this is the first year back coming, out of missing 2020.
Yeah,
You are, competitive cooking really took a lull during that whole void of time with COVID.
it really did.
Did you feel like you had to get your legs up under you again? Or did you just, was it almost like you walked through the door and boom, it all hit you again?
Ah, when I saw the field, I'm honest. When I saw the field, I was very stressed. I was nervous. But then, as soon as you start cooking,
Hmm.
you're right. It felt like I was right back to, the year was never missed. It was just right back to riding a bicycle kind of thing. Um, for me, anyways.
And it's funny, I've been around you cooking for some time now. I've cooked it with you. We cooked in a lot of inside a tiny little kitchen once, and then watching you cook at World Food. It's funny to watch because you're so nervous about everything until that fire lights.
Right.
Then when you start cooking, man, you get in your groove. You start doing your things. You know what's going on, and then afterwards, the nerves come back again. It's like when the fire turns off, all those nerves come back.
Yeah, it kind of does.
So let's do this. What were your two dishes? Talk about your two dishes for the first round, your structured and your signature.
Okay. So I felt like I was really going out of the box this year. With the structured dish, we were required to do a French dip.
Hmm.
So I did a Korean French dip. Uh, Everything was, I mean, the au jus was Korean. Everything on the sandwich was Korean. It was kind of a, Korean food has got that funky
Hmm.
flavors to it. And I liked that sandwich. I liked it a lot. Then for my my sandwich, that I tried something totally new this year. I went vegetarian.
Big
Um,
risk.
I did a complete vegetarian. It was mushroom, uh, and you know, I thought the flavors were great. One issue I had was somebody else bought all the portobello mushrooms at the store, so I was struggling to find portobello mushrooms and I couldn't. So I substituted a different mushroom, but my description said portobello mushrooms. So I think I took a huge hit with that. Maybe
Hmm.
that was because I thought the sandwich tasted great.
Hmm.
But it was a vegetarian sandwich, and I don't know. I was trying to be more creative, I would say. You know, that was my goal, was to try to be more creative this year, and maybe that would be the thing to do. Especially since had that X factor in my mind.
Oh yeah, and you did that. You really. you really showed a different side of your food this time. Your cooking abilities, the things that you can do, that evolution of adding those really creative notes, taking a French dip and adding Korean influence, going with a vegetarian sandwich, which is a risk in any of these competitions because, that's a very tricky thing to give bold flavor to. A lot of people struggle with vegetarian dishes that they're a little too straightforward. Okay, it tastes like a carrot. Okay, it tastes like a mushroom. Getting flavors because there's no fat.
Right.
And without fat, a lot of times it's hard to impart flavor. But you really showed a wheelhouse of skill and ingenuity to put those dishes together. And then you get announced in the top 10 after those two cooks, and you roll into what, about 48 hours later, you're having to cook in the top 10 round. What
Yeah.
did you make? You talked about your English muffins. What was the total sandwich you made inside top 10?
So I took a total different dish, which is a Japanese shumai, which is basically a noodle. It's a stuffed noodle,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned it into a sandwich. Um, I had only practiced that sandwich once, but the flavors that I got out of it the time I practiced it at home, were awesome. But it was missing some things, and I've never really gone to World Foods and said, "Hey, I'm going to make it to the top." My goal is to make it to the top 10, but I usually don't bring a dish, a
Yep.
new sandwich. This year I kind of had that in my pocket, but I knew it needed some other things. So, boy, I was stressing that. Afterwards, I was trying to put that together. I was really, really stressing, whether I was going to get every component in it that I really needed. So,
Mhm.
but I did turn a Japanese dish into a sandwich on an English muffin. And I added some of my own little personal touches to it, to make it really pop, I think.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was a fun sandwich.
And I think that speaks to who you are. I mean, that speaks to who you are as a person, as a creator, as a recipe developer, as a cook. To be able to take these different elements and with your influences, kind of put this together and create a dish that won you the sandwich category again.
Yeah, yeah. We had Wampler sandwich for the top 10 round, Wampler sausage,
Mm-hmm.
and it just, that I had been eating that sausage. I've entered a couple of contests over the years, quite a few years now, that had Wampler sausage in it, and so I had plenty to practice with here that I had ordered, and so it all worked out really, really good. That the sandwich filling was shrimp and sausage, so I took their sausage and remade it into another sausage for the
Well,
sandwich. So yeah.
I mean, that's something about World Foods is you're going to work with some of the best products in the world. And,
Yeah.
Wampler sausage is a long time sponsor of WFC and honestly is a fantastic product. They were probably one of the most popular booths the entire
Oh
time
yeah.
because they were giving away those tacos.
Line of tacos for days.
4 days. I think I lived off those tacos for a couple of days. But, and that's again, everybody I talk to, it's the same thing. We talk about that family atmosphere that WFC has where, you're not just getting a product, you're meeting the people behind it. You're meeting the families that put that out there. And, world-class products, world-class competitors, world-class event. Like you really can't go wrong. But man, talk about, like I said, in that top 10 round, you took some heavy duty risks to put out what became the championship sandwich and put you back at final table.
Yeah. It was like I said, I think about through the year, and we had an extra year. So, but through the year, we still didn't know everything that extra year coming back, we didn't, not, things did change. So,
Hmm.
but, I think about those things, the X factor, how can I do something that's totally different than somebody else might think of? It's, and I don't know. I think that's part of how you do well is by, trying to do new things.
Yep. Now, you've been to one final table already, which was under a different format. So
Yeah.
now you're going back to final table under the new format.
Right.
And the new format is you go in as 10, and then you have a challenge that takes you down to 5, and then you have a challenge that takes down to the top final 3, and then you determine the winner. You're not making your sandwiches anymore.
Right.
You're faced with a full new slate of really challenging culinary competitions that are going to test everything about your knowledge about food, ingredients, cooking methods, styles, and apparently now your ability to catch fish. So, how do you prepare differently from the first final table you went to now this one?
Uh, you know, my thing is I'm looking at the things that I feel I need help with, or I'm not that great with, and I'm trying to perfect those things and not worry pretty much. I mean, first of all, you don't know what you're doing
Yeah.
yet. And I don't know when you'll know what you're doing, but by knowing culinary things, right? How to make
Mm.
a sauce, how to, those things. So I'm just practicing up on the things that I think are not my greatest abilities.
Right.
I feel like I have a good knowledge of food, uh, you know, for not to be a trained chef school kind of person. I think I have a pretty good knowledge of food. So, uh, I think that helps me. Uh, but that's basically what I'm doing. I mean, you know, it's too cold right now to go fishing, but it's fixing to warm up, and so maybe I'll get to go do a little fishing and hone up on that. We'll see.
I mean, that's a question I've been asking everybody so far is, have you ever, do you fish? Because I remember when that got announced, looking across the top 10 competitors, there was a couple of faces of, oh crap, what am I going to do? I've never gone fishing before.
Yeah. No, I'm a saltwater fisherman. I love to fish saltwater. But when I was younger, I fished plenty of ponds and lakes, so I know a little bit about fishing. I haven't forgotten it.
Yeah, because not only do you not have to know how to fish, you have to know how to break that fish down,
Right.
how to prepare whatever fish you happen to catch, and put it on a plate with the appropriate sides and the right flavor profiles. I mean, that competition alone is tricky, but we've seen it past the past final tables where they've made this new format. They had to try a signature dish from a
Right.
local restaurant and recreate that dish. There's any number of things that you could be surprised with during
Correct.
this competition, but I think in the end of it, it really truly shows you who the world champion is in food sport.
I think so. I think it's much every year World Food Championships gets better. They think it through. It gets better every year. Final table, just like the regular competition, every year gets better. I think they're doing a fantastic job of growing every single year, better and better. Uh, that's why I keep competing in World Food Championship every year because I think it does get better and the challenges get better. It gives you something to aim for.
It does. So you're getting ready for World Foods. You're coming or the final table. You're coming off of being successful at World Foods. What else is going on in your culinary world?
Not a whole lot right now.
Just focus
I,
singularly on final table.
no, I'm working on a competition right now, an online type competition that I do every so often that I get a chance. Uh, but it's the last couple months have been kind of tough for me. So,
Mhm.
as far as cooking goes, so I'm doing a lot more reading and studying and that kind of thing right now.
Well, I think that's phenomenal because that's only going to increase that skill set that you showcase so well at World Food Championships. So, I think that with final tables going to be here before we know it, and we're going to be in Lake Murray, South Carolina, and watch what could be one of the most exciting final tables in the 9 years of World Food Championships. The winner will be announced, and then it's okay. We got to get ready for World Food Championships, the 10th anniversary, which is going to be an unbelievably big event because they are
Right.
pulling stops out for the 10th year. So, I mean, it's like it just keeps going.
Right. Yeah, I'm already planning. That's the thing. I'm working on final table, but I'm also thinking about November,
Hmm.
'cause
I mean,
it's
you
it,
have.
right.
Well, guys, if you want to know more about the World Food Championships, make sure to bookmark worldfoodchampionships.com. That's where you're going to find all the dates and deadlines and information. If you want to compete, if you want to work on becoming a judge, you want to be not just a competitor, but you want to go and watch some of the best food sport in the world, bookmark and go to regularly worldfoodchampionships.com. Then also follow World Food Championships on Instagram and Facebook. That's where a lot of new news, really quick information comes out. Follow them. You're going to see great recipes. You're going to see some of the competitions you can enroll in that are even online, like AC talked about. So follow both the Instagram and Facebook for the World Food Championships. And AC, where can people follow you if they want to keep up with what's going on in your world?
They can follow me at the redneckchefllc.com, which is not up anymore. they can follow me at Acie Vincent on Facebook,
There you go.
the Redneck Chef on Instagram. That's pretty much all. I don't do a lot of social media, so
Oh,
food stuff is about it.
well, there you go. Follow him on the Redneck Chef on Instagram and then AC Vincent on Facebook. AC, thanks so much for coming on today.
I mean, thank you for having me.
And guys, again, this has been Food Sport Central, the podcast of the World Food Championships. Caring is sharing, so share this out with your friends so that they have an opportunity to see what's going on in the world of food sport. And, here we go, another week closer to final table to finding out who will be the world food champion. See you next week, guys.